I've been a photographer since, I guess, earning my living as a photographer since about 1940. But I took pictures. I started to take photographs when I was 15 years old, when my high school in Winnipeg sent me to the coronation of King George VI. So for the first few years, I did freelance work around Winnipeg, got to know the two newspapers, and my first job, apart from working for a commercial lab for a short period, was the Winnipeg Tribune. I started with the National Film Board, and in those days, it was before email, of course, and we conversed back and forth across Canada by telegram. I got my first instructions by telegrams, and I didn't get to the office and meet all the folks I'd be working with for months. I took off out west, and they just told me, go out west, shoot whatever you see, and we'll send you telegrams and give you specifics from time to time. That's the type of job I figured, hey, how was I so lucky to get a job like this? So I took off for Regina, where I was born, brought up, and on to Lethbridge and Calgary, and wound up doing pictures of oil fields. Got my first introduction to commercial photography by photographing geologists working at well sites, roughnecks changing the core for picking up information on what's happening underground. Kind of loved that life. Well, when I was working for the National Film Board, I was thwarted so many times by seeing something, for instance, a peat bog. You can't even tell what's happening when you're on the ground. And there was absolutely no way of getting any height. So that really bothered me. Mm-hmm. So then I decided, hey, sooner or later I'm going to have an airplane and be able to get around the country. So if I had an airplane, I might as well learn how to fly it. When you mention aerial photography, it's kind of a poor name to mention the public. You think of a plane being way up there. But I used to fly as low as I could get without going to jail. And I would be in jail now if I tried to fly at those heights again. We'd fly right down to within 100 feet of operations. Hunter fell out of an airplane. I didn't fall out, I was thrown out.
It's a big difference.
A big difference. How did I get to be thrown out? The pilot wasn't mad at me or anything like that. But a bird was heading for the windshield of the airplane, and the pilot took the stick. It was a Aeronca. It's controlled by a stick instead of a wheel. Took the stick and jammed it to the left. And just inertia. The camera apparently, in the process, hit my belt and opened my belt, and I wind up out in the struts. If it had been a Cessna with a single strut, I'd have just rolled off it. But it was two struts, V'd at the aircraft and spread out to the wings. And I'm stuck in the middle of those struts. I didn't drop the camera. I couldn't afford to because I'd spent the hour before that photographing Edmonton, and who knows what else was on the same roll of film from the day before. So we had to get the camera, and the pilot, I played charades pretty well. The pilot was going like this. I figured that meant we're close to the airport, the Edmonton Municipal Airport, which is just at the side of the city. He was telling me to kind of hold tight. There's nothing to hold on to. Hold tight, that I'll land. Right away through my head went, God, if the tower sees us landing and I'm outside the airplane like that, I'll be filling in paperwork for the rest of my life. So I was charades. I couldn't let go of the camera to motion with my hands. I was going like this to indicate that he should bank over, and he finally caught on and banked way over, started to do turns, very sharp left turns. That let gravity help me, so I got the camera into the airplane, and then I was able to use my hands to pull myself in. Well, I headed up, in those days, Headless Valley in the Yukon was making a lot of news. So I headed up that way, but I got sidetracked and went to Yellowknife and photographed around Yellowknife. And that kind of got me interested in mining. So I had some good mining photographs to show when I got back to Ottawa. Underground. If you use too much light, you spoil the whole atmosphere. So I tried to preserve the atmosphere by keeping my lights away from the camera, kind of in behind, so you can see what's happening, but not too much detail, and especially not from the foreground. And if there's any dust in the air at all, then you're ruined. The light hits that. But when the light's from behind, it gives it a nice open effect. So I'm walking around. I can't use the miner's headlight on my head as miners do. I had to tuck it through my belt. All the more danger of walking into an open pit somewhere. I think I'm lucky to be here today that in the meantime I haven't fallen down a mine shaft. Well, in the olden days, let's say pre-1980s, early 1980s, companies like to show how big and expansive their industry is, and a bit of steam or smoke coming out of the stacks means that they're progressing and they're creating employment, and it's good for the country, producing industry. All of a sudden, the environmentalists come along and say, this smoke is desecrating the country, and the open pit mines are showing the public just how careless the mining people are, ruining the countryside. Almost overnight, all my assignments and that type of work ceased because the companies no longer wanted to show what they were doing. Well, nothing's really changed over the years because the main part of a picture is looking at the subject and picking the best angle. We have different tools to use to capture that subject. Well, one lifetime is not really long enough for an active photographer because here I am in the last stage of my career, but there's enough interest in photography to keep going another lifetime. If I ever come back, I think I'll be a photographer again.